Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Tech Talks by Celestial Systems. I'm your host, Richard Wong, and with me today is Jasmine Leong. How you doing, Jasmine?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. I'm doing well. Thanks for hopping on today. I guess for those that don't know, what is it that you do?
That's a very good question. So I currently work at a startup, a marketing tech startup, and I do all things HR. So I'm a solo HR person, and I manage anything from the transactional HR stuff like benefits admin, payroll, all the way up to strategic and recruiting stuff. So vision, mission, stuff like that.
Sweet. That's really cool, Jasmine. So our topic of today is hiring for culture fit in tech. I know you have a lot of experience in that. So to kick us off, Jasmine, why is culture important in a tech company?
Yeah, I think when you're hiring in a startup, especially in tech, there's so many different kinds of cultures out there. You hear about, the ping pong tables and the beer on tap,
Hmm.
and you want your organization to have a specific culture that's reflective of your beliefs, your values, um, and how you want that to influence the behavior of your team members or your employees, right? So it's good to define that on your own and think about what kind of organization you want to build, what kind of people you want to hire, and what kind of standards you want to hold your people to. So that all stems from what kind of culture you want to help foster.
Nice. Okay. And I mean, like foosball tables aside, what does it mean to hire for culture fit? Like you hear this term thrown around so much. It's like, oh, maybe people have been like even rejected in an email where it's like, oh, this is not a fit, right? Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, I mean, at a high level, I think that means hiring based on a couple things. So values, personal values, are they in alignment with your own? Um, so, for example, if you value integrity, you might not want to work at a place that has short-term lending as its main business. Um, I think you have to be super honest and transparent when you're hiring for culture as well, because that's when people really get a realistic preview of what your company does and who you are. So, for example, if your culture is, you're always working OT, but
Mhm.
everybody's a grinder, they're a hustler. Don't lie and say that, we work our 9 to 5 and then we log off,
Right,
because
right, right.
then you're falsely advertising and you're attracting the wrong type of people. And there's just like a misalignment of what kind of culture you want to build. And I think you always have to keep in mind the personalities and the technical gaps that you might have on your team. So what that means is if you take a look at who your current team members are, take note of what they're great at and what they're not so great at, personality, like soft skill wise and like technical skill wise, and kind of fill in the gaps from there. But I think it all really just falls down to values first and foremost, and what kind of behaviors you want to drive in your organization.
Cool. And when it comes to values, like how are you get like figuring that out or getting that out of your candidates? Like, are you putting them through an aptitude test? Like, is there like what do you do?
That's a really good question. I think there are certain questions that you can ask based on your values. Um, so, for example, if one of your values is innovation, right?
Hmm.
You might be able to ask the candidate, tell me about a time where you creatively solved an issue. And you can ask them questions based on their answers, just really diving in deeper to
Hmm.
see to what degree they were involved in that idea creation. So there's tons of ways you can do that.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, because I've heard of like some interviewing processes that even ones that I've been through where they're giving you some kind of like personality test or like
yeah,
figuring out what quadrant you're in, right? So, yeah.
yeah. And I think it really starts in how you even write your job description in the first place.
Hmm.
So, how you describe your company, how you position what they'll do at the company, really, really dictates what your culture is like. So, for example, a really results oriented or like goal oriented company, instead of listing out like what you'll do in a bullet point, they might say what you'll achieve in the first 90 days and then what
Hmm.
you'll achieve in the first year. So, or it's like when you're talking about who you're going to be reporting to, even that will be indicative of the culture, because it's like, okay, you're going to be reporting into a manager who reports into a director who reports into a senior director. So you know that it's not like a very flat structure. You know, there's a bit of hierarchy there, right?
Okay, cool. That's interesting, Jasmine. Now I guess like in terms of your like, are you quite involved in the hiring process then for most of your candidates, or?
Yeah, so I'm usually the first filter or screen for candidates, and I also have to work with the hiring manager to see what the job description is like first and
Oh, cool.
foremost.
Okay. So if like a prospect were to, or like a candidate were to come to you, like what's a red flag, like an instant red flag that would like set you off?
Yeah, I would find that in tech, not too many people stay in the same job for very long.
Okay.
Um, I think the past 5 years, we've been seeing a bit of a candidates market versus now it's more of an employer's market. So back then, people were switching jobs like all the time. And if you want consistency and loyalty within your company, then that's just something that I would take a look at first and foremost. But aside from that, it's really just like what tools that they use, what languages do they code in, what projects have they worked on.
Hmm. Okay. So like sort of a loyalty or, duration first.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think even if you're really interested in a candidate and they haven't stayed at their jobs for that long, I would just dig into that a bit more just to see what their reasoning is, because I myself haven't stayed at jobs for a super, super long time either, but I
Mhm.
feel like I have a pretty good justified reason of why I leave each one. So it really depends on the candidate.
Okay, cool. And I guess in the whole hiring ecosystem, like what are the common like issues that you're seeing, or like common friction points that you're seeing, not only in tech but in the industry as a whole?
For employers, you mean?
Yeah, for employers.
I think the hardest thing about hiring is knowing that they're going to be a good fit on your team. And that can be not easily avoided, but you can work on that by having what people call the beer test. Um,
Okay.
so a lot of
Meaning,
organizations do it. Yeah, they do a bit of a round table, get to know you type of interview. That's not really super question based, but more like, okay, at the end of the chat, maybe it's half an hour with like four other
oh wow.
people.
So
That's
this is
like
like
a proper hiring.
this is a live thing. That it's not just a hypothetical question. Would I have a beer with this person? You're actually going out to have a beer with
You're
this person
Well, you
with
could
some
be, but
teammates.
in a remote situation now, I
I
think
see.
you're just like chatting over Zoom and
Okay.
just like, yeah, having a good time and like getting to know each other. And at the end
Cool.
of the session, you're like, yeah, would I have a beer with this person? Do I like this person as a human being? Right?
Cool. That's awesome. I guess like kind of changing gears here. What advice do you have for tech companies that are looking to make their next hire?
Yeah. I think right now we're in such an employer's market. We really have the the pick right now of awesome employees. Like I'll post a job for 24 hours, and previously where I would get maybe 100 applications, I would get 500, 600 within 24 hours.
Wow.
It's crazy right now. So I would say pick wisely.
Hmm.
You have your pick right now, but also work on your retention strategies as well, because it's not just getting them through the door; it's getting people to stay as well. So, what are you doing to help them just love working with you? Are you giving them interesting projects? Are you giving them growth opportunities? That all needs to be considered as well.
Okay. Cool. Actually, another question I had is, like you hire for in like sort of internal positions, right? Does your team or do a lot of teams also outsource as well their work?
Recruiting.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people, especially in the beginning, outsource the recruiting function. Um, and typically they take a certain percentage of the annual salary that you're recruiting for, And a lot of places find that it's very much worth it because it's a really grueling process, especially if you're getting like 500-600 applicants a day.
Okay.
That can be a lot of work, but
Okay.
a lot of people choose to do the in-house route as well, because that
Cool.
way you get a better sense of the culture and the values that you're recruiting for.
Okay. That's cool. Awesome. Well, I mean, thanks a lot for hopping on today, Jasmine. It was great chatting with you.
Yeah,
And
no problem. It was a pleasure.
yeah, awesome. Well, thanks.